Hi you guys, and welcome to another video. So quite a few of you have written to ask about my experience in going from 1 to 2 children, and now at 1 year postpartum, I finally feel prepared to answer your questions. In today's video, I'm going to lay out all the juicy details, the good, the bad, and the ugly of my experience in going from 1 to 2 kids. I'm also going to offer my best advice for handling the changes, so regardless if you're contemplating adding to your brood or you already have a second baby on the way, my hope is that this video will make your journey a bit smoother. So let's hop to it and talk about adding more kids. So one of the biggest fears many parents face when adding a second child is how can you possibly love a second child as much as you love your first? And how can you balance the needs of both children so you don't compromise your relationship with either? When I was 9 months pregnant with my son, I remember laying in bed with my first at night and just crying while she slept. I was asking God if this was going to be the last night when she was my only baby, the last night that I could just hold her as long as I wanted without interruption. I was terrified that the new baby would put a wedge between us, and even more scared that I would grow to resent him and the impact he had on all of our lives. Luckily, these fears proved to be completely unfounded the second I held him in my arms. The old adage that love multiplies, not divides, is so true in this instance. If my experience is universal, then I beg you not to worry about this. Your heart will double and make room for everyone, and while your relationships will definitely change, it will most likely be for the better and not the worse. My best advice is to just roll with the emotions as they come and give yourself grace while everyone adjusts to the new family member. So now let's move on to some tips for making the transition to 2 easier on everyone. First, I suggest perfecting your sleep routine with your oldest while you are still pregnant. Whether you are sleep training or opting for a more gentle method like we did, have your night routine and timing down packed by the time the second baby comes. Getting everyone ready for bed can be one of the craziest parts of going from 1 to 2 kids, and it makes it so much easier if the oldest routine is as smooth as possible. Second, I highly recommend enrolling your older child in a program for at least a few hours a day when your baby is born. I enrolled my daughter in a morning summer camp last year, a month before our son arrived, and I kept her going for a couple of months after he was born. She had so much fun and loved the attention she got from her counselors and her friends there. It kept her busy and entertained when I was too exhausted to do so, and it also gave me a few hours a day to catch up on my personal needs, rest, and bond with the baby. Another tip I have for you if you're still planning for baby 2 is to work on extending the patience of your oldest before your new baby arrives. You can do this by using phrases like "just a minute" or "hold on a sec" when your child asks for something. Also, slowly begin encouraging independent play early on. Some ideas for this are to offer your child small art projects to work on, or set them up with a building game and then walk away when they really get going. I promise you that by doing this ahead of time, you can help to better prepare your older child for the inevitable waiting they will need to do when you care for a baby. It will also help you to stave off some of the blame that the baby will get for taking you away, as your child will be more used to a little delayed gratification. I also suggest preparing a busy basket of new and special toys for your older child to use while you nurse or rock the baby. Include items that your child can do solo and some that you can help with one-handed. You can see our busy basket in my newborn hacks video if you're in need of some inspiration. Also, don't be shocked if and when your oldest starts to act out. My usually well-behaved older child had some crazy performances of misbehavior shortly after her brother was born. One day, she even rubbed an entire bottle of hand soap all over our bathroom mirror. Just remind yourself that big tantrums, big feelings, and crazy behaviors are usually just your child's way of crying out for more attention from you or for coping with the change. Obviously, don't be lax when they're acting insane, but do try to wiggle in more one-on-one time and offer them some time to talk about their feelings. Also, brainstorm some ways that your oldest child can help with the baby. For instance, asking them to fetch wipes or a blanket for you when they're in the mood to help will go a long way in helping them to feel involved. I also learned that praising my daughter often for being a great big sister made her aspire to be just that. She wanted to help and enjoyed the emotional rewards that we threw out for her. That doesn't mean it was foolproof. She had plenty of days where she literally asked me to rehome her brother, and other times when she got angry at him for just existing. But I think the good days have far outweighed the bad, and I'm thankful for that. Another word of advice: know that your personal time will all but disappear for a few months. I remember asking myself what I did with all of my spare time before 2 kids. Now it constantly feels like I'm running back and forth, fighting to meet the needs of both kids and leaving myself in the dust. I haven't quite figured out out how to balance all of these demands yet, but I have realized it is getting easier with time, and I expect that trend to continue. For mental health purposes in the early days, I suggest writing down what things you value most. Is it making lots of memories with your children? Do you need a clean house to feel sane? Does exercise or a creative outlet keep you happy? Narrow down your list to your 2 most important priorities and keep those in the back of your mind. If you start to stress about something, ask yourself if it's one of your priorities or goals, or is it just some of the small stuff? If so, let it slide until you get the hang of things. Know that eating good, nutritious food and getting outside a little bit each day will do loads for your stamina and your mental health. Enough said there. Finally, know that your relationship with your partner will probably change too. For us, our love deepened in a lot of ways as we learned to work together to tackle the responsibilities and household needs together. My daughter also deepened her connection with her father as he became my stand-in and eventual replacement in her bedtime routine. We also had days where we bickered as we battled through lack of sleep, a 4-year-old that was acting out, and a crying baby. What really helped here was to recognize that we were both working towards the same goal, even if we had different ways of approaching it. If you acknowledge each other's strengths and try to overlook the weaknesses, you can make it through the rocky parts intact. That first year with 2 kiddos can sometimes feel like an uphill climb, but it does get better and better and easier and easier. Now at 1 year postpartum, I'm finally starting to feel like myself again. I feel like our routine is down and life is starting to normalize. My kids are happy, and while they may have days where they are just not into each other, they are actually starting to play together now, and I see the joy in their eyes. The love in our house is tangible to anyone that enters it, and I really feel like these are some of the best days of my life. I find myself just trying to savor it and soak it all in. And while some days I still feel overwhelmed with 2 people who need me constantly, I can't imagine life without being needed so much. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found this information helpful. If you have specific questions, feel free to reach out to me in my community tab or on Instagram. I'm also considering doing a Q&A video soon, so if that's something you'd be interested in, be sure to press the like button above and watch for the post. And until next time, I will see you in the next video. Adios, everybody.